What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the UFC 288 Picks and Prediction Show by yours truly, Cage from Cage My IQ. As always, you can find me on the Bloodline Entertainment Network and on the Cage My IQ YouTube channels. You can find me on both of them. If you know the Bloodline Entertainment Network, we bring you the best in sports, wrestling, entertainment, and combat sports coverage on our network now. You can find us on the bloodlineent.com. We got a website where we post all of our articles and content. And then we are on YouTube for all of our podcasts. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to us on YouTube at www.youtube.com/at the Bloodline ENT. And then, of course, you can find me on social media at Cage by IQ. Follow and subscribe on Twitter at Cage IQ. I'm on Instagram at Cage My IQ. I am on Twitch at Cage My IQ. And then I'm on my personal Cage My IQ YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/at Cage My IQ. Also, check out my merch that I just released. We're on fightersfirst.shop. All you got to do is go to the Cage My IQ collection. We've got our brand new t-shirts out now with the brand new Cage My IQ logo. You see the white shirt and the green shirt there. We also got a green one out now and gray. Let me know what you think of any other colors you think I should put out now, but definitely check out my merch and buy my merch. Let me know what you think. It is the comfiest shirts as possible. Fighters First does you right. So definitely check that out and any of the stuff Mike Ginn has out on the fightersfirst.shop collection. And of course, before we get into any bit more of this out, I just want to shout out to my Bloodline brothers at Bloodline Entertainment. You got anywhere from you got the director's cut, which is getting released next week with Graydon. That's going to be a great show with cinema and TV. You got Tim King with the Tim King Show. You got Nick and Keith with the Universal Wrestling Podcast. Of course, you got Devin with the Clark Street Wrestling. You name it, we got it. And of course, you got the Circle of Debate. I am on there. Check them all out on the Bloodline Entertainment Network. But let's get to the action now. We got UFC 288. We got a 14-fight MMA bout taking place at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. We got a title fight in the main event, and then we got a special edition 5-round co-main event that just got added to it. But let's get a breakdown of this card. The first fight that we have for you guys here is a matchup in the bantamweight division between Daniel Santos going up against Johnny Munoz. You got Santos minus 165. You got Johnny Munoz Jr., who's the plus 140. I'm going with Daniel Santos here. I like Johnny Munoz Jr. He's very good in the clinch. He knows how to take his opponents down with the BJJ. He has good striking. He has good movement. But it's going to be hard for him to compete against Daniel Santos. He has that Muay Thai background. He likes to move forward aggressively. He has the knockout power. He knows how to finish his opponents. He just keeps on pushing forward. And that's a big thing in fights with me is the way you move forward and the way you attack. And we just haven't seen that out of Munoz. Johnny Munoz knows how to finish his opponents on the mat, but we haven't seen him doing that much power on the feet. And you're going to have to use that against a guy in Daniel Santos who has knockout power. He has forward movement. He knows he has a decent chin, and he has good takedown defense. So I'm going with Daniel Santos to get this one done. And I think that he gets the finish here. I'm going to go with a round 2 knockout for Daniel Santos over Johnny Munoz Jr. Moving on to the next fight that we have for you, we got a nice middleweight matchup between Joseph Holmes going up against Claudio Haberio. This is a good matchup here. You got Joseph Holmes in his last fight. He, of course, got the loss against Bo Nickel. He's coming in the plus 175 underdog slot. And then you got Claudio Ribeiro, who is the minus 210 favorite. Joseph Holmes is going to come in. He has a pretty good kickboxing Muay Thai background. He throws a lot of leg kicks. He's very receptive with his striking. He picks and chooses his slots. He doesn't go over the moon with his throwing. He doesn't go crazy. He just picks and chooses his shots and he throws them. He's very uh, laid back with his striking, which is probably one of the drawbacks of picking him because he's not going to be that killer mentality. He's all about just throwing, going back, throwing, go back out of range, throwing, go back out of range, and then beating you by points. Whereas Claudio Ribeiro, he has holes in his game. He has knockout power. He has a good kickboxing stance, but he leaves himself open. But that's the mentality that he goes. You hit or you beat hit, and half the time he's the guy doing the damage. But in the last fight, of course, in his debut, he was looking good against Al Hassan, and then he got wobbled, and then he got finished. That's part of the game with how he fights, and I think he gets it done on Joseph Holmes here. I think he gets that first round knockout. I think his aggressiveness pays off in this fight. If Joseph Holmes had any bit of a takedown game, or if he had any bit of aggressiveness, he probably would have the chance because he has the better uh, striking game. But because he's too passive in fights, he's not aggressive at all, and he's going to back up when Claudio Rivera moves forward. I think he's going to put himself in the situations where he takes a lot of damage, and I think Claudio Rivera, with that knockout power, gets it done in round one. So I'm going with the favorite, Claudio Ribeiro, by first round knockout here. Moving on to the next fight in the flyweight division, we got a matchup between Zalgis Zumagulov going up against newcomer Rafael Esteban. This was a tough one to pick because you got Zalgis Zumagulov, who is a very tough fighter. He has good wrestling, he has good power striking, but he's always on the wrong side of the judging when it comes to fighting. You think that he's going to get a win like against Jeff Molina, the judges go the other way. Then in the last fight, you think they're going to go his way against Charles Johnson, and they go and pick Charles Johnson. He goes and retires, and then he unretires, and then he comes back. And he's going up against a Brazilian tough-nosed fighter in Rafael Esteban, who has good BJJ, who has good takedowns, he has good power striking. He's the type of guy that's going to take you down, punch you in the face, and look to move positions and transition so he can look for the submission and get that finish. And in this matchup, I'm going to go with the newcomer, Rafael Esteban. He has that minus 150 price tag on him, mainly because I think a lot of the bettors think that even if Zalgis Zumagulov looks good in this fight, that for some reason the judges are going to go the opposite way. I just think in this matchup that he has the better stuff. And I think even though with how tough Zalgis is, I just think that the mixture of the BJJ and the power striking is going to be a tough handle for Zumagulov to deal with. And when it comes to fighting, he's going to be able to clinch up with them. He's going to be able to play defensively because he's getting to that age where he's slowing down a little bit. But you're going to see a lot of the explosiveness of Esteban. You might see it used to get into the clinch, and you're going to see those leg trips. He's going to try and get Zumagulov to the ground, and you're going to see a lot of those elbows and knees to the face. And he's going to go for those finishes, but I think Rafael Esteban gets it done by a unanimous decision in this fight. I think he's just going to do a lot of damage. Zumagulov, like I said, is very tough, so he's going to be able to last for all 3 rounds. You're going to see him have his moments, but I just think the younger guy is going to be at the advantage. And when it comes to being close in this fight, which this fight could be, I think the judges are going to lean towards Esteban's side here. So I'm going with Rafael Esteban by decision in this matchup. Moving on to the next fight here, we got a middleweight matchup between Ikram Aliskerov going up against Phil Hawes. You got Aliskerov, who is the minus 210 favorite, going up against the no hype Phil Hawes. This is going to be Aliskerov's debut in the UFC, whereas this is a big time vet in Phil Hawes, who's fought over 8 to 9 times in the UFC. As we know, with Phil Hawes, he has that knockout power. He has that boxing background. He's very explosive. He likes to move forward. He has started to mix in that wrestling perfectly within that power striking. He has been training. He likes to take guys down, throw elbows, throw knees. But lately, he's been training that BJJ side of things. He wants to slow the pace down, get guys down to the ground, transition to positions, and look to submit them and to smother them. But lately, he's been a guy that's just been very hittable, and he tends to not manage his gas tank as well. And he's going up against a Sambo wrestler and Ikram Aliskerov, who knows how to use his forward pressure to push opponents back. He takes them down. He does a lot of work on the ground. He can submit you. He can knock you out. He throws knees and elbows. He does a lot in close combat. And the only loss that is on his record is a loss, of course, to Hamzat Chimaev because he couldn't take him down, and he was the one who got beat in that matchup. And I just think this is going to be – this is why he's the big-time favorite here, is that a grappling background, that just forward movement, and I think he gets it done, and I'm going with round 2 submission via rear naked choke for Ikram Aliskerov in this matchup. There are definitely holes in this matchup where Phil Hawes could possibly get the knockout. I just don't think that it's going to mesh well with the grappling of Aliskerov. I think he's going to just milk out that cardio and that gas tank of Phil Hawes by grappling, making him work and making him try and get up of the takedowns. And he's not going to muster up enough to be able to have that power that he has in the beginning of the fight to finish him. If he can get it done early, yeah, and that's Phil Hawes' best bet. But I'm going with Ikram Aliskerov by second round submission. I just don't see it happen. I think that the grappling, takedowns, and transitions are going to be too much for Phil Hawes to handle. So I'm going with the newcomer in this matchup. Let's move on to a big time heavyweight battle here. We got Parker Porter in the heavyweight division going up against another newcomer, Braxton Smith. Braxton Smith is coming in as the plus 155 underdog, whereas Parker Porter is the plus 190 favorites mark. Parker Porter comes in. He has good striking combinations. He has good grappling. He uses his weight to take his opponents down. He lays on him, gets control time. He throws knees, elbows. He throws his punches on the mat. He tries to control them there, make them waste a lot of energy so that they can't get much going if they get up or start a new round. Whereas Braxton Smith, he is a guy with power. He has big size. He has knockout power. He has great speed for the weight that he's carrying, and he's a forward pressure type of guy, and that's something that Parker Porter had to deal with last fight against Justin Tafa, where he got knocked out in less than a minute. And if Braxton Smith can stuff any of the early takedowns that Parker Porter is going to use, because his grappling is a very underrated part of his game, then this should be easy pick with Braxton Smith by a first round knockout, in my opinion. I just think that Parker Porter is very hittable now. he's showcased in the past couple fights. Unless the fight gets to the mat, then I'm going with Braxton Smith by first round knockout. If Parker Porter can get it to the ground, I think he has a better chance of winning this fight, grinding it out, getting him, laying on him, throwing those elbows, transition to positions to look for submissions, making them work to have to get up, wasting a lot of energy that is needed to throw those power strikes. But I just don't see it happening. Braxton Smith has showcased that he has good takedown defenses. He has good get ups. And at the end of the day, I got him finishing this in the first round by a KO. So I'm going with the underdog, Braxton Smith, by first round knockout. Let's move on to the next fight. We got a women's strawweight matchup between Marina Rodriguez going up against Verna Jandrodova. This is a fun fight to predict here. You got Marina, who is the minus 165 underdog coming into this fight. And then you got Verna Jandrodova, who is the plus 140 underdog. This is a striker versus grappler. Easy matchup here. Verna has the big time BJJ grappling background. She's going to look to take you down with those leg trips, control you on the mat, throw those elbows on the mat, look for those submission entries, and submit you. She has very limited game when it comes to the stand-up striking game. She throws those overhand left and rights. She throws the calf kick, and she throws the side kick to the side of the ribs. Other than that, it's very basic when it comes to stand up with her. It's all about getting the fight to the ground. You got Marina Rodriguez, who has that kickboxing background. She fights, uses her long reach as a distance game for her. She's going to throw the leg kicks. She's going to throw the overhand shots. She's going to use the jab as much as possible, along with the cross and the hook. Anything that she can do to touch you up from a distance without allowing you to get close to her. The big thing here will be, can she stuff the takedowns, though, because that's been one of her weaknesses. She had, of course, against fighters like Mackenzie Dern and whatnot. She's been able to win those fights, though, by out volume them to the point where she can correct the takedowns that she has been taken down with. So if she can stuff the takedowns, this should be easy Marina Rodriguez decision victory here. But if Verna can get close to her, take her down, and make this a fight, it's going to be more of a 50-50 depending on what the judges feel like when it comes to how the grappling outweighs the striking and vice versa. But I got Marina Rodriguez win this by decision here. I think she outvolumes her, and I think she limits the takedowns that Verna Jandrodova can get, and she showcases a better get up game than she has in the past. So I'm going with the bet here and Marina Rodriguez by decision. Let's move on to one of my favorite fights on the card. We got a welterweight matchup here between Chaos Williams going up against Rolando Bedoya. I'm going with Chaos Williams by first round knockout. Chaos Williams has the nice combinations. He has the boxing background, quick hands, quick movement. He has forward pressure. He has decent takedowns. He has great finishing rate. He's going up against Rolando Bedoya, who has good power, good movement, but the one weakness is, even though he has that 14-1 record, I believe it is, on his thing. Yep, 14 fight, and then he has won 5 straight fights. He has showcased that he is very hittable in fights. He has almost been finished several times in his past, and he has had to come back from behind to win fights. And against a guy like Chaos Williams, I don't see that happening. Chaos has too much power. You see the 2 losses for Chaos: Randy Brown by split, and then you got Mikel Ferreira by decision. So those are 2 very tough fights that he had, and I thought he almost did enough to come back to beat Randy Brown. Randy Brown utilized that big time reach to his advantage to touch up Chaos Williams and avoid those big time knockout shots for the most of the fight until towards the end, where he got rocked a little bit, but he did enough in the first half of the fight to steal the fight by split decision. And now Chaos comes in here against a fresh new face who hasn't fought the best competition, and I think Chaos gets it done. I think it gets it done by first round knockout. Bedoya is going to showcase a little bit of good skill, but I think he just doesn't have the defense, striking wise, to contend with the speed of Chaos Williams and the movement, and that's why I got Chaos finishing him in the first round by knockout. So I'm going with the minus 300 line here over the plus 240 underdog. I just think it's too much to go against the favorite. So I'm going Chaos Williams by knockout. Let's move on to the prelim. One of the great matchups here. Devin Clark going up against Kennedy Nchekwu. This is at light heavyweight division. This is a toss up for me. You see Devin Clark is the plus 175 underdog. Kennedy Nchekwu is the minus 210 favorite. A lot of people are going to be on Kennedy Nchekwu, and I see why. Like, he showcased a lot in that main event fight against Ian Kudalaba. He has a long reach, long height. He has power in his hands. He knows how to take his time. He picks and chooses his shots. He knows how to throw combinations now. Like, he used to just throw one shot, one shot and wait, and then he looks to finish you. And then it seems like his fight IQ is improving as well. Whereas on Devin Clark's side, we've seen this guy getting finished several times in fights. But he seems to have these fights where he'll have a great fight followed by a bad fight, and then he'll go back to a great fight. He'll go back to his bread and butter that wins him fights, and that is take the fight into deep waters, clinch up, grind things out, push his opponents up against the cage, knee him in the stomach, elbow them, get the fight to the mat, and then just grind them out instead of getting into these bar fight brawls, trying to knock out guys, and then he gets knocked out. So fight's gonna be decided by what guy gets his game plan going first. Where can he get Devin into a bar fight brawl, get him into one to throw, or will Devin be able to grapple up with the bigger guy? A lot of people are saying the height difference is going to play too much of a factor in this one to keep Devin from grappling. But we've seen guys grapple with Kennedy and have advantage with it. That they just have to be smart with it. So for the time being right now, I'm going, because this is a 50-50 to me, I'm going with the underdog here. I'm going with Devin Clark by decision. I think he can do that. I think he can grind it out. I think he can avoid getting hit with that reach. He's going to get up close, grapple with him. He's going to look to take the fight to the ground. We haven't really seen how well Kennedy can defend the takedowns and get down. We've seen fights where he's held guys onto his back for 2 rounds, and Danilo Marquez, and then he had to finish them late. But then he was easily able to be grappled with. So we have to see what he does when he's on the mat. And Devin Clark, I think he can do well with holding him there. And as long as he can do that, Devin Clark should win by decision. But if he can't, and this becomes a striking battle, then Kennedy will be in his warehouse, and then he should be able to pick up a victory, possible finish in this fight. I don't think second or third round, but right now I'm going with Devin Clark by decision with the plus 175 underdog odds here. Let's move on to the prelim main event here. We got a lightweight battle between Drew Dober going up against Matt Frivola. This is going to be a fun one. You got Matt Frivola coming in here. He's a good striker. He has good movement. He has knockout power. He has decent clinch-up game. But he's going up against a guy who's rightfully the favorite in Drew Dober. Drew Dober has that striking background. He has the wrestling background. He likes to clinch up with his opponents, take them down, wear them out, but then he has knockout power. You see in the Terrence McKinney fight where he gets rocked, but then he comes back and he catches McKinney with a nice shot, and then he finishes him off. This is a guy that has probably one of the best chins in the UFC. Other than getting stunned by McKinney in that fight, he has not been finished in over 9-10 years. That's a long time. His chin has held up that long. He is very durable. He has good cardio, good movement, like I said. He's just very well rounded. I think the only negative would be is he's not exceptional in one spot, whereas he's good everywhere. And he might be really good with the grappling, but that's about it. And then against a guy with knockout power, I think it's going to be okay with him as long as he avoids those shots. He has to showcase that he can take the shots, not get knocked out, and then just keep on moving forward. So that's going to play into his warehouse. And I got Drew Dober winning this one by decision here. I just think that the takedowns, the striking damage, and the fact that he can take a shot and not get finished, it's going to go into his corner here. I think they're going to be throwing heat at each other at some point. But I got Drew Dober doing just enough within the grappling game to outdo the power shots of Matt Frevola in this action-packed prelim main event. So I'm going with Drew Dober by decision in this fight. Let's move on to the main card here on UFC 288. We got a nice matchup in the featherweight division between Kron Gracie going up against Charles Jourdain. This is Kron Gracie's first fight, I believe, in 3 years. Yep, 3 years and 6 months. And he's going up against, of course, Charles Jourdain. Classic striker versus grappling matchup. If Kron Gracie can grapple with Charles Jourdain, get him to the mat, I think he has a chance of pulling off the upset. We just don't know what kind of shape he's in, being that he's been out 3 years. So that's why I'm leaning towards Charles Jourdain by finish in this fight. If you look at it, just like I said, he had the one loss, which was to Cub Swanson by decision, and that was 3 years ago. Other than that, he's only 5-1. He does have that expert grappling background, but you look at Charles Jourdain, he's 13-6-1, even though he's lost his past two. They were against top opponents in the division, and he's coming in with that very good leg kicks. He has very good striking. He has the forward pressure. He has a great power. He knows how to throw combinations. He has good cardio, and he's been very active in UFC. He tries to fight 2-3 times a year as much as possible. And just like we said, Kron has only fought once in the last 3.5 years. So I'm going with Charles Jourdain here with the minus 200 odds. You got Kron Gracie with the plus 160. If you feel that Kron can grapple with them, get him to the mat, give a shot with Kron Gracie with the plus 160. If you're going to do that, you might as well do the by sub betting as well. You might as well wrap those up together, because if he's going to win, it's going to be by sub early to or mid in the fight if he can catch Charles Jourdain off guard. But I got Charles Jourdain getting the win. I feel like he's either going to be by late finish, by early finish, or by decision here. I just think that that's what's going to happen. I feel like the striking is in his side, the pace is on his side, movement's on his side, and of course just the background in the stand-up favors him. The only thing that doesn't favor him is the grappling, which goes to Gracie. But because Gracie has not fought in so long, I just think that this is going to be too tough of a task for Gracie to get over in his first fight back. So I got Charles Jourdain by decision or late knockout in this fight. Let's move on to the next fight here. This fight has taken a turn in the last couple of days. It was supposed to be a featherweight matchup between Masaw Evlov versus Bryce Mitchell, of course, as you see right there. But now it's, of course, Evlov going up against, of course, Diego Lopez in the featherweight division. Diego Lopez is taking the fight on 2 days' notice, 3 days' notice, which is good of him. We needed this fight not to fall through, so he comes in and saves it. But of course, you got to go with Miloslav Evlov in this matchup. He has the pace, he has the cardio, movement, the grappling, the wrestling. Whereas Diego Lopez has good striking, he has good skills, but it's just too far of a task for him to take on 2 days to 3 days notice to come in here and have to game plan for a guy that's just a beast with his takedowns. He averages 3 to 4 takedowns a fight. He's hard to deal with pace wise. Guys just can't contend with the constant pressure with him moving them forward, taking them down, doing damage. He has good striking, and he's just a killer in the ring. And that's why I'm going Masaw Evlov in this matchup. I think he gets it done by decision. I think this is just a classic case of him wanting to play with his food. He wants to showcase a little bit more of himself in this fight. So you're going to see plenty of takedowns here. You're going to see a lot of knees, a lot of elbows, a lot of control time, a lot of transitioning, looking for submissions. As you see here on his thing, the majority of his fights are won by decision, just plainly because of that factor. Is he likes to just move around and do enough on the mat, damage wise, to win fights. He doesn't let his opponents do much damage, and that's what it's going to be in this fight. This is an easy one for me, Masaw Evlov by decision, and then I'm definitely going to be using him on DraftKings as my big DraftKings roster slot in the 6-man MMA DraftKings lineup here, and you could see him as one of my plays, depending on how the lines change on betting for Cage's bet slip. So definitely keep an eye on that. But the pick here is Boslav Evlov by decision in this fight. Moving on to the next fight here, we got a women's strawweight matchup between Jessica Andrade going up against her opponent Yan Xiaonan. Andrade comes in the minus 195 favorite. Yan Xiaonan comes in at the plus 155 underdog slot. Yeah, this is going to be fun just for the fact that Yan Xiaonan is a great striker. Her only weakness is her takedown defense. She has showcased that she has improved it. And you're not going to see too much of that, I feel like, from Jessica Andrade. She likes to stand and bang. She has power. She does have good body lock to leg trip and good finishes on the ground when she does it. But I see this fight just being like a bar fight because both of them have power on the hands. Both of them have good finishing power. And both have good speed. Both have good movement. But I'm going to give the edge to Andrade here. Yan Xiaonan lately has showcased less of the power and more of the IQ, where she's looking to avoid takedowns by all of our opponents because all of our opponents are trying to take her down now. And she's more about touching up and movement, touch up movement, mixing up leg kicks in the air, and just racking up volume. Whereas Jessica Andrade, she does that, but she adds power to it. She's looking to finish her opponent, and I can see a finish here in this fight early to mid round 2. So I'm gonna go with Jessica Andrade by round 2 KO. I think Yan Xiaonan's gonna look good early. She's gonna try and get her game going, touch and go. Jessica Andrade's just gonna read that, look to get her range going, and then that's when she's going to explode by round 2 and she'll get the job done then with the finish here. So in this, I got Jessica Andrade by round 2 knockout. Let's move on to my favorite fight on the card. We got the 5-round co-main event that just got added 2 weeks ago. We got a top 5 battle between the underdog Bilal Muhammad plus 105 line versus Gilbert Burns, who is the favorite at minus 130. Both guys have good cardio. Bilal Muhammad comes in with the wrestling background. He looks to take his opponents down. He has good striking. He has good pace, good movement. He knows how to circle the cage. He utilizes the jab, the calf kick, and the side kick. And then he's been mixing in of course, the uppercut and the hook into his repertoire the last couple of fights. Then you got Gilbert Burns. He has the high level BJJ background. He has a little bit of wrestling background as well. He has some decent boxing. He knows how to throw combinations. He has that knockout power. He, as we know, of course, he's moved up from lightweight a few years ago, and then that's when he's become big. In his last couple of fights, he's showcased the evolution of himself, being able to transition from one to another and not rely too much on getting knockout happy in his fights. I'm going with the underdog here. Everybody's on the Gilbert Burns side because we saw what happened when Bilal went against a dynamic striker, and of course the champ Edwards, Leon Edwards. But Gilbert Burns isn't the same guy. He doesn't have the same speed. He doesn't have the touch up mentality. His is more the knockout style than it is just a punch and go, as Leon Edwards is. And Leon Edwards mixes in a lot of dynamic leg kicks into them, whereas Gilbert Burns, he will utilize a leg kick, but they're not as good as Leon Edwards. And I feel like Bilal Muhammad, his wrestling is going under the radar in this fight. A lot of people think just because Gilbert Burns has the BJJ, that's going to negate the takedowns, and I think it's not going to. I think the pace and the ways that Bilal Muhammad disguises his takedowns are going to play a huge factor, and that's why I'm going with the underdog here, Bilal Muhammad, to win this by decision. Not to mention the fact that this is going 5 rounds. We know both have skill in 5-round fights. They've had backgrounds doing them in the past 3-4 fights. I just see better from Bilal Muhammad in a 5-round fight than I do Gilbert Burns, and I think he gets a couple takedowns. He wears out Gilbert Burns. He's going to take some shots from Gilbert Burns, but I just like the game plan that Bilal Muhammad's going to come into this fight using, with the mixture of the striking, with the jab, and the takedowns from time to time. So give me the underdog here in Bilal Muhammad at plus 105, and then give me him by decision as well. I think that's the pick to go. If you feel like he's going to get finished, then definitely go with Gilbert Burns, because if Gilbert Burns wins, I think it'll be by a knockout finish or submission in this fight. But I'm leaning towards Bilal Muhammad by decision in the co-main event. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. We got the UFC Bantamweight Championship matchup here. We got the champion, Aljamain Sterling, minus 110, going up against the returning Triple C Captain Cringe, Henry Cejudo, at minus 110 as well. This is a very interesting championship fight. You got Henry Cejudo, who has that world-class wrestling background. He knows how to take his opponents down. He has good striking, good movement, great cardio, great IQ. He knows how to game plan for fights, and he knows how to pace himself. And then you got Aljamain Sterling, who has world-class BJJ, great submission game. He has great leg kicks, great range, great reach, great movement. And one weakness that he has at time from time is with his striking pace, where he throws too much in a 5 round fight, and then he starts to get tired. We saw that in the first Peter Yan fight, but then he corrected it and he started to pace himself better and he focused more on his grappling than he did on the hand striking. And that's where this game is going to be played out. Who is going to grapple better in this matchup? Are you going to see Henry Cejudo look for a lot of takedowns? Or are you going to see him stand there and trade and then mix in the takedowns on Sterling? And with Sterling, is he going to be okay with getting taken down because of his submission game, or is he going to look to take the back of Cejudo and test him out, see what he can do, see how well he has gotten into shape after being out for over 3 years? I think that's going to be a big factor here. But I do see Sterling using a lot of those leg kicks, a lot of those jab throws. I think he's going to stay at distance as long as he can, because as long as he doesn't get touched up, he should be able to win rounds by just production if he can just stay away at a distance. But the closer Henry Cejudo gets, that's where things are going to get really crazy, because we don't know how Sterling's going to do against those takedowns, because Cejudo is just going to keep coming at you. We've seen guys in the division like Ricky Simone, Merab, who do it. And then Merab is a really good example. I think that having Merab as a training partner is where people are forgetting how well Sterling can game plan for this fight, because he's a guy with similar traits as Cejudo when it comes to wrestling. And I feel like Sterling has been using him to prep for this fight. And that's why I'm going Sterling here by decision. I think he's going to be able to stuff as much as possible. It's not going to be able to stuff everything, but when it comes to striking in this matchup, I favor Sterling. I favor him in the submission game. I favor Cejudo in the grappling, the IQ game, and the pace game. You might even go with the cardio game, but that striking is going to be a big equalizer when Cejudo is going to mainly do a lot of grappling and trying to control on the mat. And he's going to have to throw in the fight to keep it staying on the mat if he gets him to the mat. But in a 5 round fight, you got to stretch everything out. And I feel like that Aljamain Sterling is going to be able to have the chance to do that, still can take him down, but be able to win rounds. This is going to be a close fight, because I think it's going to be a round by round basis, because I can see every round being where you see the first half of the round Sterling piecing up Henry Cejudo, but then Henry Cejudo getting a takedown and then holding him on the mat for a minute or two, kind of like the second fight Sterling had with Peter Yan, and how close the judging was for that. But I'm going with Sterling by decision here. I think he gets it done 3-2. It could be very close. It could be by split decision, but I think he retains his title. You could see a rematch in the future, but I'm glad to see Henry Cejudo back, because that is best for business. This is a tough as nails fighter. This is a guy that needs to be fighting, and I think if Sterling gets it done, we could see Cejudo move up to featherweight, because I feel like he's in it for the championships, and I just see him going for that as well as playing here. So I got Sterling getting the title defense by decision with the -110 odds. A lot of people are going with Cejudo. If he can grapple and be effective there, I think he gets it done. But I'm going to go with the champ here. I think when you get a close fight, you always lean towards the champ's way in that one. So Aljamain Sterling by decision in this matchup. Other than that, that'll wrap things up with the UFC 288 by yours truly. You can tune in content around the month on Cage by IQ and the Bloodline Entertainment Network on YouTube. I also just put out my WWE Backlash 2023 picks and predictions video a couple days ago. Check that out. Hit the subscribe button and hit something in the comment section of your picks and predictions for Backlash. And of course, for this video, do me a favor, smash the like button down below. Help me out with the algorithm. And then please give me your picks and predictions for in the comment section for UFC 288. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you're going to lean in another way, and give me your betting ideas for this Saturday's fight card. But other than that, I am Cage. This is Cage My IQ. I will be back next week for UFC Fight Night picks and predictions. So definitely tune in next week for that show, and I would see you guys later. Have a good one.